forums, virtual roundtables, and virtual fireside chats. Welcome to another one of those virtual fireside chats. You're watching us on ITV News on Facebook, which is with ITV News with a Z, and on our YouTube channel. My name is Sunil Vanvari, and I'm the founder, CEO, and editor-in-chief of the IndianTelevision.com group, which has started from a hole in the wall 20 years ago with no partners, no funding, no investors or godfathers. Since then, the group has thankfully, because of its hardworking teams, expanded into several areas which cover the entertainment industry. There's our biggest product, the 15-year-old telechucker.com, which has spawned a lot of imitators and has an active audience of 100 million, giving us more than 1 billion views a year. Then there's radioandmusic.com, which caters to the FM radio and music industry, as well as to music and radio fans. Animation Express, the third largest destination in the world for information and analysis and news relating to animation, VFX, comics, and gaming. And of course, the jewel in the crown, IndianTelevision.com, which today ranks among the top sites in the world, giving insights into the world of cable TV, DTH, content creation, distribution, advertising, marketing, and media. All of these work closely with industry to help them find marketing and other solutions to some of the issues that the various sectors are facing. Finally, we have a clutch of premium industry platforms we have created to help industry and professionals to network with each other and gain understanding from each other. There's India's largest gathering of those interested in the OTT business called VidNet, which is in its 5th year. We attract 1,000 paid professionals from OTT, broadcasting, telcos, cable, DTH, content creation, and writing talent. Producers, talent managers, technology solutions providers to the OTT ecosystem, and what have you. There's the Content Hub, India's largest gathering of content creators for TV, film, the world of voice and OTT. So writers, directors, producers, distributors, commissioning editors from all these platforms come together over 2 days, and they're paying to be there. There's the Video and Broadband Summit, which brings together distribution professionals from cable TV, DTH, OTT, broadcast, regulation, telcos, broadband, to understand the future of video distribution. And of course, there's the Kids Animation and More Summit. There's the Kids Animation More Awards. And next month, we have the Games, Esports, and More, which is coming up, which is a 2-day gig that we're putting together for the games esports industry. Then, of course, there's the very, very popular Indian Telly Awards, India's premier awards for actors, actresses, writers, directors, TV and OT shows, which have been telecast. The awards have been telecast on Star Plus, Sony during our guest today's when he was heading it, Colors, and TV, and Z5. Finally, there's MIPCOM, MIPTV, MIP Cancun, MIP China, ATF, which I represent as a sales agent for the regions of India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. MIPCOM, by the way, is happening next month, and it's really raring to go. Industry is wanting to get together to sell and trade in content, do co-productions. So it's happening next month. And a large delegation of Indian channels, animation studios, OTT professionals, content distributors will be taking a part in the virtual edition. You can reach out to Farah on my team if you want to know more. Anyway, it's time to move on to our guest for the day, Sunil Lulla. How does one describe him? Today, he heads India's viewership monitoring agency's BARC India as its CEO. But he has had a career that spans advertising, youth television, entertainment television, news TV, music, digital, spirits, yes, liquor, TV production. He has been associated with companies such as JWT, MTV, Sony Entertainment, Times TV, Diageo, United Distillers, India.com, Grey Group, Saregama. Quite a diverse exposure, which is what makes him this extremely well-informed professional and extremely well-positioned to head BARC. But more than his professional qualities, Sunil has gained a reputation as a good human being. In an industry where almost everyone postures by asking, what is my gain and how I alone can gain from it, Sunil is one of the few executives who always asks, how can we gain from this together? He's a people man, a people first man who always thinks of things from both points of view and pushes the envelope so it becomes a win-win for both parties. Over the many years I've known him, not a single year has gone by without a happy birthday wish landing up in my phone or a card in the office from Sunil. And I believe many others in the industry, not just journalists, have been at the receiving end of his goodness. Thank you for that. Thank you. Not just that, he's known for his flashy ties, his colorful socks, his slightly oversized jackets, no offense meant to you, Sunil, and the unmistakable twitch on his face when he's intently listening to you or answering you. Additionally, Sunil is a guy who gives it to you as it is. He calls a spade, even if it hurts you. Unlike many other senior people in the industry who promise and don't deliver, Sunil is a guy who does not promise, but if he does deliver. Sometimes I wonder, and I've asked him, what's a straight guy like you doing in this business? Which sees friendships change in a flash. And he's just brushed it off bashfully. Clearly, my description of Sunil clearly shows that I have a lot of regard and respect for him. Welcome, Sunil.
Thank you. You flatter me. From the time you came to see me in 1996 when I was an MTV and you proudly displayed this Channel V bag uh, and got me started, right? That was a great way to start that relationship. And I have enjoyed knowing you for now 24 years plus, if I am not mistaken.
Yes.
You're still the same. You speak from your heart, you speak from your mind. And I enjoy our conversations where we both agree and disagree on many things.
Thank you for that. But I stand by it, and I believe I really stand by what I say. No matter what anyone else in the industry might point out and say I'm flattering you, I'm not. And many another person will agree with me from the industry that my description of you clearly describes who you are in real life.
I shall take the point on the jacket particularly because I think I tend to put on and lose weight fairly fast. Yeah. So I swing a lot. But I shall take that point.
It's okay. That was meant to be in lighter vein, Sunil.
No, it's okay. I know. Yeah, but it's a good observation.
Yeah. So how are you this morning? And Vinodni and Aisha, how was
Very
the
good.
family?
All is well. Under the circumstances, I'm in my office after a rugged workout in the morning.
Okay, good to hear that.
Had to get the energies blasting up if I'm going to talk to you.
Thank you. You make me sound like a monster.
No, you're not at all.
Yeah. So you recovered totally from COVID, right?
I recovered from COVID. I have donated my plasma twice. Efficacy of this questionable, but I am told that if it's donated in the first 10 days or if the recipient receives it in the first 10 days of the infection, they have a better chance of fighting it. So being able to do it twice, as long as I can hold, I'll do it again.
Yeah. So what advice would you give people from the industry and people, general population at large about, you must have been pretty particular about keeping your hands clean, about distancing, about masking.
So I've actually got a bunch of notes that I've kept together because I get many requests to share for people who may get infected or are infected. I think the biggest thing is one is stay positive and not to panic. It's my learning. I'm very clear about that. You have to stay positive of this illness. I went out and gave it out twice as plasma. People are petrified of doing so. I get a number of calls every single day. People ask, where can I get it? And I think the only thing I can say is stay positive. Right through this infection period, as well as through what we are going through in the country, is to stay positive. I'm out there. I run in the morning 3 times a week. I wear a mask and I run. I'm out there. I come to office. People were scared to come to office. I said, I'm going to be here in the office, whether you like it or not. And then we have today 84 people in our 3 facilities sitting across 6 feet apart, wearing a mask when they need to, washing your hands and doing everything you can. If you get scared of the virus, then you will remain in fear all your life. So you got to be smart. You got to be sensible. Yes, I have a mask, but I don't need it just now because I'm alone in this environment talking to you. But otherwise, I just think be careful, eat well, work hard, produce results. I looked at it this way that we give our ratings out every Thursday, 11 o'clock. We didn't miss it once during COVID. Have there been challenges in getting the data and going across? Certainly. Were we equipped to go work from home? No, we weren't, but we got ready when we had to, and we went work from home, right? And now we pick up people and bring them to the office, those who are willing to come. We had to resize our company in terms of our cost structure because we knew revenues were going to fall, and we were successful in doing that. I think the team has done a brilliant job of making sure BARC delivers, or making sure we remain relevant, or making sure that we run at a commercial value that the industry warrants us to. So I think it's all about how you approach things.
So I think most of us know that Sunil is a marathoner, like other executives like Sudhanshu Watts, Deep Prana, and Anil Ambani, also the great Anil Ambani. You said you ran this morning.
Yeah.
So, what keeps you going back on the track? And when you're going for the marathons, what keeps you at it? Because at times, I used to do the 10,000 meters. I used to run 7 kilometers, then 11 kilometers. But the knees kind of give way at times?
Yeah, so you should know if your knees aren't functioning, you don't run. But as long as they are functioning, I think it's the desire to be on the road, to push yourself, to try and do the impossible. 42 kilometers is not easy. Some of the names you mentioned, like Sudhanshu, etc., they kill it in a few much shorter time than anybody else. But it's about your own aspiration, right? I don't look at it from a benchmarky point of view, but I think running the distance gives you the stamina, gives you the courage, gives you the inspiration. It always clears my head, helps me think of new things. Uh, it's the usual adrenaline that runs and pumps through your body. I think it's a good exercise. Any form of exercise is good. If you want to stay healthy, you can stay productive. So if you don't want to stay productive, you must stay healthy. It's what you eat and what you do with your body that allows you to do what you want with your mind.
Yeah, I get it. So what got you onto the track, onto running, not on the track, on the road, more precisely? The track would be more.
It started with the desire to lose a little weight,
Okay.
and it then went on to be something I enjoyed. I made new friends. We ran together. Now we don't run together because you physically can't. You need the distance, right?
Sure.
So you run on your own and you make friends over there. And I think it just became about setting a goal and trying to beat the goal
So
and
what
trying
was
to
your
make.
goal? What's your best time?
My best time has been in New York last year. Uh, 4 hours, 13 minutes for a 42-kilometer run where the temperature was 6 degrees, which is not
Okay.
the
Six
temperature we are
degree.
used to running. Yeah, we're not used to running at 6 degrees.
Yeah, yeah. And New York's a pretty tough one, right?
Yeah, it is a tough race.
So it's got a
But
lot
that's
of
a,
ups and downs also.
yeah,
It's not a flat surface.
it's got, you start by climbing up the Verrazano Bridge, which is 2 kilometer long bridge.
Yeah.
But I think the interesting part of New York is the crowd. It is an amazing crowd. I mean, Brooklyn is a deafening roar. It's like Eden Gardens on the last ball is being bowled, and it's
Okay.
going to be a tie. Right? Brooklyn is a deafening roar. It's something else. And then there are dark patches of absolutely death-like silence. But it's a great crowd. It's a great run. It was my dream to do it. I'm glad I could do it. This year, of course, there are no races. Unfortunately, in Bombay, I think in January, unlikely to happen. But we run on the road. We pretend we are running a race.
Great. How you've been to London? You've done the London Marathon?
No, I haven't done London. I hope next year when things are open, I will do Berlin in October.
Great. I had the good fortune to see the London Marathon some years ago. It was amazing. I think one of the Kenyans won it at that stage. I can't remember.
Yeah,
So
they always do.
yeah. So this morning, how much did you run this morning?
This morning was my physical exercise. I did not do running this morning. I will run on Sunday. But
Okay.
this morning was just strength training. It's
Okay.
very important to do both.
So coming down onto your as far as work is concerned, you're using 84 people working at different locations in BARC. You're back at the office, 6 feet distances.
84 locations in Bombay in 3 offices.
I understand. So,
Yeah.
how does it work? I mean, how are you all, when you have Zoom, why not do it from home?
So till July, we were at home and we started bringing people in July. There was some fear to start with, which was natural. Our productivity has gone up.
Hmm.
So people who live really far don't always want to get picked up because north of Bombay is a lot of traffic. But otherwise, many people enjoy coming to office. It's more productive. You can see each other. You can talk across the hallway. There's enough distance kept. If we are going to do a call also, and we are 5 of us in a bigger room, we
Hmm.
just need one screen and one computer to do that, and it's more effective. I think there is something about the chemistry of individuals interacting, having a discussion, being able to brainstorm, which you cannot do it across an online conversation. So productivity is certainly much better. I think for a lot of people, work from home is not easy in India because home may be a small space, maybe a crowded space. You have kids, they may have to do online school. You have other people sitting at home. It's not easy. Work from office is a professional space that people know is safe and are working. And it's across India. We have people in every state, right? Our field operation is in every state, and there's somebody sitting over there. Now, in some places, they can't travel in every city because there may be a containment zone. But in many places, people are on the road, they're traveling. If I remember correctly, the stat for this week is about 97% people on the road.
So in terms of, let's say, your sample, were there any impact in terms of the people who are having the meters at home getting infected, or that's.
So we had, yeah. So the thing is, let's understand what happens there, right? There's a people meter box in a particular home, and there's a people meter box in a retail outlet, a restaurant, bar, Horeca outlet. So the Horeca business is shut, which is out of home viewing is shut because there is no out of home consumption of food, spirits, beverages, or any kind. No restaurant is open, no coffee shop is open. So that is obviously shut down, but we still have access to those places. But we are not utilizing them, and there is nobody there to measure television content. The home panel, as we closed in March, is continuing at the same pace. We have not added new homes until now because in many places there were restrictions. We will add new homes in the next few months as the restrictions open up. Some of the homes did move out, some came back. Uh, we had to do routine maintenance of the box. We had to do, people had to recharge. Some homes did not recharge their SIM cards, right? They did not recharge the cable bills. They did not recharge the DTH. But that was there in May and June. I would say right now, relatively speaking, we are much better off. We are almost as good as before the lockdown happened. The good part is that most people have watched a lot of television, right? TV viewing went up at 43%.
Yeah.
So January is what we call as a pre-COVID period because India's first case is Jan 30th. We are about 15% higher in terms of viewing. We are about 6% higher in terms of daily reach. We are 9% higher in terms of daily viewing. We are 18% higher in ad volume compared to Jan. So July, August have actually done better than July, August of 2019. And even September is obviously trending higher.
We come to that.
September
We'll come to
2019.
later.
So
That's later.
all parameters of engagement, right, are on a positive side.
Yeah. But when I speak to, anyway, we'll come to that later. I just want to finish my.
Yeah.
So why did you take up this position at BARC? I mean, you've been in advertising, you've been in marketing, you've been headed a channel, you've actually had
Yes.
many channels and made it in networks. You've also headed advertising agencies. So why take up BARC?
So the larger part of my life has been about representing the audiovisual industry directly or indirectly.
Sure.
Okay. TV networks have taken a large part of my professional existence. MTV, Sony, the Times Television Network, some part around the OTT content and digital space, shot though at Balaji.
Plus India,
Large,
don't forget
yeah,
India. You did that
and the
beautiful deal.
internet piece when we were all on, there was no mobile connectivity really in those years, right? It was limited, unlike today. So there is that piece and there is advertising. What does BARC do? BARC represents the stakeholders of advertising, marketing,
Mhm.
and audiences, right? It basically is a currency in
Mhm.
terms of where the audiences and marketeers and sellers, which are broadcasters, exchange that value. I was on the founding board of BARC when it was created. So I've been actively involved in its inception. And I think it's a big privilege for me to actually be in the chair that I am in, to represent a stakeholder body. At the end of the day, this body is off for and by the stakeholders. We do what the stakeholders want, right? And help provide the information for them to understand what India watches.
Yeah.
I think it's a big privilege to have this job.
Yeah. And so was it an individual's decision to invite you, or was it a collective decision to have you on?
I don't know who the individuals may have been, but it would have been a board-based decision.
Okay.
Right? Obviously, the chairman of the company then and even now is Mr. Puneet Goenka. And I think many people on the board have known me because I have been involved with the TV business, involved with the advertising business, involved with BARC, like I said, on the founding board. So they reached out to me, and I think it was a good opportunity to build what we are building.
Did it live up to your expectations?
Did what live up to my expectations?
Yeah. The job that you took up has the
Yeah, I think there are two parts to anything you do. One is what expectations or ambitions are laid out on the table and what you build with it. And I think I've set myself a calendar, an agenda for all of us to build BARC 2.0, right? So I think it very much is living up to my expectations, and we are stretching and pushing harder with some constraints in this particular environment, which is both fiscally as well as otherwise, from an activity point of view. But outside of that, I think we will build a much stronger measurement system.
So what is BARC 2.0 going to look like?
So, measurement science is the heart of the company, right? And we've been able to reinforce that and build that in terms of processes of measurement, as well as in processes of validation, right? So we have invested very heavily in validation of what we do, which builds for stronger processes. And there is always that everyday correction. It is not something of which you dial up or down, but which is statistically weighed in and out. And that's what we do. So that when we say BART delivers or explains what India watches, we should be very sure of that statement. Yes, it's a sample, it's an extrapolation of the sample within a reasonable range that you can look from an estimate point of view. So there will always be those statistical errors which are statistically validated. So it's that. For us, therefore, it is going to be some amount of expansion that we will do in sample homes, the continuous correction that we do, the processes we bring in. The volume of data that we generate is really humongous, right? And people just tend to think of it in terms of audience measurement, but it's also picking up and hauling that data, storing that data, being secure about it. It's the ethics of the organization that are really important, the standards that we set out over there. And I think as we go forward, if there is one big takeaway from this pandemic, it has been the huge adoption of digital consumption. And I think we are working very closely now with the industry to build something that can give, for lack of a better word, a one video view, right? Which is you may watch TV, you may watch that TV show on your telephone, on your mobile handset. You may watch an OTT content, which is not coming on TV. You may watch that. And we would like to bring that measure to bear. And that's what we are working towards. And we will begin that process next year of being able to share that data in 2021.
Excellent. But that's a project which was under consideration under the previous management of BARC, and somehow the other, gentleman, the foreign gentleman who was looking after it, there were gaps. Have those gaps been closed?
There were no gaps. Okay, first of all, I think what was being done with that was very ambitious. Right? What you need to understand is a currency starts with advertising. Right? 2019 television was estimated to be a 32,000 crore industry as per the FICCI report. It's going to be a little less this year because of what has happened with the pandemic, but it will bounce back pretty much. What's going to accelerate it is the advertising investment happening in digital. So if you start from there, you start from where the marketing money is being spent, right? In turning consumers, because marketing drives consumption. Consumption drives the economy, right? And that's where I see BARC's role playing in benchmarking, measuring, and projecting, or at least stating out there where that consumption is happening and how that economy is being driven. So we will start with that. Uh, we have already had conversations within the stakeholders. We now have to build proof of concept, build pilots. It will take a year. And we are not in any big hurry to do it any faster, but we want to do it well. I'm pretty convinced we'll go there. Everybody need not participate, right? That's one thing. In TV, the channels get watermarked. All TV channels want to get measured, right? In digital, many players may or may not participate. I'm open about that, right? But we will navigate this as we go along. I do believe if we have a good, successful commercial model, there is one neutral entity called BARC that measures television. And if it can bring together other components that can measure digital, give it time, we should be able to deliver on both counts.
Yeah, but there are companies which have, I think Nielsen's doing some of it. And internationally, I believe there's a company in the US, I met them at CES 2 years ago. Their data processing unit is based out of Pune, which is doing, look, basically they have 40,000, I've forgotten the number, but it's a nice sizable number of mobile owners who they are tracking in the US for consumption. It's run by a Latino, the name is escaping me now. But there are already people in the marketplace who are doing it internationally. So are you looking at partnerships? Are you looking at reinventing the wheel?
Oh, we will look at many things. Like I said, we are the ground floor level of their conversation. We want to build what the stakeholder industry wants, right? And I think I have the stakeholders' interest well protected and well guarded. So television does provide, it's a neutral, we are a neutral body that provides the television audiences. And if we can build both of those together and create that one view, that will be simply fantastic. I'm pretty convinced we will get there. It will take time. We're going to be patient. We are not in a race. We are open to partnerships. We are open to some creations. At the end of the day, it's not about a number, right? Everybody can give you the independent number. Any streaming platform will give you independent number. It's a demographic relationship that you need, which comes from the audience. And that information is not easily available, but that information is available at the TV end. We can link in those two, and that's a conversation for 2021.
I get
We
it.
are
Yeah.
still in 2020.
I understand that. So, in terms of India going forward, your job is going to get easier with a lot of connected TVs coming in. In that sense, the connected TV is going to make your job easier. While we'll be monitoring mobile consumption, uh, connected TVs will make your job easier as far as the home is concerned, home viewing of digital.
So, when you and I talk of a lot in this fashion, we think a certain number is a lot. India is a billion individuals.
Okay.
It's 300 million homes. 100 million homes don't have a TV. So that a lot is such a small singular percentage. It's irrelevant, if you ask me, at this point
It's
of
about
time
35.
of 25th September. It's irrelevant.
Okay. Isn't it about 2 million sets are being sold every month? And all most of them are smart TVs.
But at the end of the day, a lot of people may have smartphones also, right? It's what they watch and what they are watching on it. Most of the viewing is actually television,
Okay.
right? Most of it is television content that is there, that they're watching. So if I'm going to, IPL is a classic example, right? I'm going to watch the match. I'm on my way. I don't have access to my TV set. I want to watch the first 5 overs. I will watch it on my phone. Or what am I watching is a large TV event. It's
Oh,
not
like
only
me,
for a
like
digital
me. I
event.
watch it on my MacBook on the way to.
Whatever,
I
wherever you
put
watch
it
it.
on when I'm in my car. MacBook's on,
Yeah.
and I'm watching it connected to
So,
my.
so whatever you watch it on, right? At the end of the day, it's television determined, which has been the world's biggest show on TV this year, Ramayana. It's a show that came in 1986, got a bit re-edited, spruced up, image enhanced, audio enhanced. Biggest television show of 2020 has been Ramayana.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
So these habits are not going to go away, and I'm not denying that digital will not happen. But
No,
that's
I'm not
also,
saying I'm the old
yeah,
proponent. I believe television
yeah,
will be around for a long, long time. Despite I had a
yeah,
conversation with
correct.
somebody this morning. He said that people don't want to invest in linear TV. I told him, do not get swayed by posturing. The fact of the matter is, linear TV is what India is watching across India. Yes, digital is being consumed too, but it's on the go more. And as we go forward, as people want to watch alternative content, they're watching it on their connected TVs in metros and in second rung towns, etc. So I'm a total proponent that TV is here for some time to say. I
Yep,
don't know how many years, but it's there. Maybe a decade, 2 decades.
much longer than that.
Fantastic. So that'll make a lot of the stakeholders in broadcast happier. If your predictions.
But they have a role to play in making sure it lasts longer than that. And it's so see, technology can change, right? But what is television? Television in the Indian context is me and my family being entertained together, being able to have a conversation while there is some information or entertainment on a screen, being able to partake in a meal together, being able to spend time together. So if that construct of the family is not going to fundamentally get overthrown, I need something that keeps it together, which is what we lovingly call television.
Yep. I think.
And don't look at India through the lenses of Bombay alone, right? Look at it in the mass that exists.
I get it. So I think, the head of Discovery International, he calls it TV today's total video. That's what we should define TV as, total video, which includes television and digital. Hello, are you there?
Yeah, I'm listening to you.
So
That's a
there's a new
definition.
definition of television. It's, TV.
Maybe
It's total video.
that's what I'm telling you, that it is going to be TV and digital put together. You need the right tools, so that there is no universal tool that does both. So I think the industry will work together. We'll all learn globally as well as locally on how to build these things. But pretty much that's where we will go. There will be some homes which will not have what is called linear TV and they will sit and watch only OTT content. There will be some which will watch only TV and no OTT content. Both will exist. And there'll be a large mass which will grow over time, which will switch. See, content decides who's watching what, when, and where. There is something I can watch with my family and something I want to watch alone.
I get it,
Right?
but there'll also be a third group which will watch, which will be on digital on the TVs on streaming, but they'll be watching linear on streaming.
Also, that is
Because
convenience. That is convenience. That is convenience, right? If somebody is offering me on a pipe something that comes home which is all together, so be it. One of the big radical changes we have seen is how people have either changed connections, changed their subscriptions, because we are sitting in a time when there is financial pressure and there is financial scare. Even if you have a secure job, you're not sure if it's there tomorrow. So you learn to save money and you start cutting down some expenses.
great. So we'll come to that point later. Now, in terms of so you all had 50,000 boxes, right? Right now, how many?
44,000 boxes.
42,000, and it's still 42,000.
44.
44.
44,000.
Sorry, I'm growing old.
Yeah. 44,000 boxes. We will get to 50,000. I think expansion is a moot point now, given what's happened within the industry. These things cost money. The industry pays for it. And we have to also be allowed to go and do the processes and measures that we can do. So we have to wait for a little more unlock, a little less scare, and then be able to progress this.
What about refreshing them? Getting them up to date, getting more.
Well, they get done. That's done technologically. You don't have to go there with a screwdriver and fix it.
Okay.
Boxes which are perhaps not functioning. Yeah. So our repair center is up and running. Our repair center now works 6 days a week, 2 shifts a day, and we have started now installing replacement boxes.
I get it. So now you took up BARC. I think, was it a year ago or less?
It was last October.
Last October. It's almost
end of October. Yeah.
So what have you been doing since then? I mean, there was a team in place. What have you been busy with since then? Apart from, of course, one is getting familiar and all that. What else have you been up to?
See, a big part of the exercise that we did was, one is we have to report the data as is where is, right? And consistency is not a simple act.
Okay.
You're going to serve out that data and you're going to be consistent in your processes. You got to make sure you have all the safeguards in place. It's not an easy act. The pandemic made it actually a far more difficult act because of lockdown, being able to move out, moving data around, getting the boxes going, not being able to expand in May, June, July, right? Being able to now go out there and do some more installations. It's not a simple act to do. You're dealing with fear, both at the sample end as well as at the organization end. We made very, very big steps in data validation. The board had appointed an oversight committee, and the oversight committee now validates every single thing we do. So which I think we brought back trust into the industry. I spent a lot of my time, December to March, going from city to city, town to town, talking to our stakeholders over there and explaining what we were trying to do, right? And the algorithms that we were trying to do. One of the big demands which was coming in from the industry was to address the inflated viewership that sometimes comes because of forced viewing due to landing pages. We addressed that. It took us a long time to address that. It's a large-scale technology and statistical project, right, which we were able to put in place. I think we've got our company now far more ingrained in deep processes, far more ingrained in the culture of measurement. And for me, that's been the changeover that we have made within the company. And I think the industry recognizes it. My board certainly recognizes it. The stakeholder body recognizes it. We've continued to run all our TechCom measurement meetings, our disciplinary meetings, and our oversight committee meeting with the same rigor that we did. And the data goes out there on Thursday at 11.
Yeah. Despite all this, we've had a few slanging matches. We had the News Broadcast Association writing to you saying that, why is TV9 spiking? There's some hanky-panky. Despite all that, I know you responded to them. So despite the fact that, you've worked so hard to build trust, there's still some sense of distrust.
The best part of doing something is to always know that somebody is unhappy in the world. Right? Why they're unhappy? Because everybody wants to be number one. Now we are not the one that provides the platform, right? Our job is for the marketing industry to give them credible evidence that those people who are watching television, we can report on that with accuracy. And that's what we do. Which channel and what channel people choose to watch is their choice. How much time they wish to spend is their choice. We've got to make sure the sampling and the representation of the sampling is accurate, and that's what we choose to do. Competitive rivalry is part of industry. We don't partake in that. So
Okay.
if a lot of people were watching, one of the things that you should know that's happened in this period, there have been shift in people's choices. Suddenly men got exposed to a lot more television. Kids got exposed to a lot more news. Men were spending time in non-prime time. There was no original content for a few months, you will recall, right? So a lot of habits changed over there and some preferences changed. If you look today and compare to a year back, there are significant changes in preferences. And there are always changes. Year to year, channels rankings change, channels preferences change, audience preferences change, but there certainly are changes. There's a resettling back to where we were in January coming in now. But there still is space to go. Some of the TV consumers also may have started spending more time watching non-content which is not on TV, right? Which is digital content. It's very, very likely. People have spent a lot more time watching audiovisual content and getting a lot more engaged. So changes are going to happen, and we are going to have to live with these changes.
Yeah. So in terms of, we'll come to the viewing habits. There have been some departures recently in the last few months. Have we seen the last of that? And how is BARC
On an
structured
average,
now?
BARC's functioning organization is about 7 years old, right? When we started the company,
Yeah.
8 years old actually. The operations, which is the release of data, started in 5 years back in 2015. On an average over the last very many years, we've had an average attrition of 10% by and large as an average. We have stayed with that average. That's not a surprising number in this country.
Yeah, yeah. But this has happened at the senior level in recent times.
You know, for people who would work 7 or 8 years and they want to do other things, they want to do other things. I'm grateful for their contributions, but they want to do other things, they want to do other things.
I get it. So you've replaced them with the adequate
Not,
skills
not
position.
necessarily, we don't necessarily need to replace people for like. Given a lot of younger people an opportunity to grow and take on new roles and responsibilities, redesign the organization a bit so there is greater participation. You should also understand if people have spent 6 or 7 years in the company, they also want broader roles or bigger roles, right? And new opportunities come in. So we've given a lot more people a lot more say in the management of this company. It's not as pyramidic as it used to be. When you start a company, it starts with a very tight pyramid and then it starts expanding, right? So I think we are at that part where we start expanding. I
So
think the
how's
natural evolution of BARC has been good.
okay? And how's it structured now? I mean, you don't have commercial. You had physicians, you had Rommel, you had different kinds of people out there. So how's it?
So the functioning of the company remains the same. Measurement science team has got stronger, robust. Dr. Derek Gray runs that, and measurement science, data, and products now sit together. This was not as aligned over the last 5 years, but as a natural evolution because I totally believe that measurement science is the heart of our business. So it will be consolidated. It is consolidated. Technology, which is very important aspect of securing the data, churning the data, as well as in transporting the data, has a very strong role to play in the day-to-day management of the company and how we deliver the data, right? And our commercial function is centric within our CFO. I think we've given other functions like legal services, HR, regulation, a lot different people taking on new roles and leading those roles. I think the management is more robust, it is wider, it is less centric, it's a lot more participative of the company. And obviously, there's a client-facing organization, right, which is evolving and growing because as we grow more clients, One thing that I would like to do is I'd like to have many more advertisers buying our products and services. We have a lot of broadcasters and agencies buying them. I'd like a lot more advertisers. And some have really shown confidence and faith and, are large customers. And I'd like to grow that pie because there's a lot in the TV data that many marketers in India can benefit from. And that's really important. It's not about ratings. That's a mistaken notion. It's the habit of buying. It's the way you plan your spot. So there are agencies which do a phenomenal job of planning. And there are advertisers who now have a lot more interest because now they're spending a lot of money on TV and they're being challenged to spend a lot more money on digital, right? And they can understand the TV data better if they participate in that data pool directly, and then use their expert partners, the agencies and others, to build a much better proposition for their advertising out there. And I think as the economy starts unlocking, so the first sign as I've seen is change in volumes, but as the economy starts unlocking, marketers are going to be wanting to bring back their volumes, their market shares, and their numbers back on the table.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big opportunity with some of the things that we are doing in terms of tools that we are building, both for broadcasters as well as for marketers.
So, in the sense, the tools are being built. So, what's the new offerings that you're possibly repackaging to make it more appealing to marketers?
So marketers will look at ways at which they can optimize their plans far more strongly, right? They can look at the data very differently and optimize those plans, and they can build cohorts for themselves. So if you are selling food products, you can look at the nature of audiences which watch. So if you're targeting mother and kids, where do you see mother and kids watching television? What are they watching? And therefore you can plan your advertising on that basis. What is the volume that is sitting over there? What is the, every marketer likes to believe I'm spending enough to deliver enough spots. But are they being delivered to the right audience? Are they watching that? Are they getting engaged? What's the clutter? There are many other phenomena. So you see this, as like I said, with the unlock opening up and us being able to participate more visibly with everybody, then we will see these things, services being offered into the marketplace over the next few months.
Great, fantastic. So, and the stakeholders, how have they responded to your structuring BARC the way it is currently and the focus you're giving it?
So the board allows the management to operate the way it should, right? And I have full endorsement on every single thing that we have done over the last 1 year. 100% endorsement. Both from the TechCom, from the oversight committee, from the disciplinary committee, and the board. So as a stakeholder body, we don't run as like a management of any other media firm or any other consumer products company would have a goal and would go hit that goal and would have a team over here. We have to take stakeholder interest. If there's even a minority interest which is unhappy or not fully satisfied, we've got to be able to satisfy that interest, or we've got to be able to take them along. And that's really important to understand. This is not a classic organization. There are multiple interests. You've got to be able to build those interests and be able to represent those interests. And you've got to be not just good with what you do, you've got to be seen as being good with what you do. Both are important, the reality and the perception.
No, I get that. And I think you're ideally positioned to do that. So when you joined, I asked you that, are you going to deal with the, the pulls and pressures? But you seem to be ideally positioned to do that.
Yeah, pulls and pressures are there every day in life, Anil. So you just deal with it.
Yeah. So in terms of reaching out to marketeers, are you building a strong push towards them? Because again, there are stakeholders, but there are small brands in different territories. There are smaller players. There are the retail sector in Chennai. There's retail sectors in different parts and local brands. So how are you going to get them onto the table, or is it just the ISA members, etc.?
No, it's not necessarily like that. I think that you have to look at people who spend significant money on television. A significant volume of their television of their inventory is on television, right? When they are reaching out to their consumers. So where TV is an important part of their plan, it's important for us to have better tools, more sophisticated tools, and that's what we are building with, which will allow them to measure their different audiences. Not every market is a single portfolio company, right? There are multiple portfolios. You may have biscuits, waters, chocolates. You may have soap, detergent. You may have cars of different kinds. You may have automotive of different kinds. You have financial services of different kinds, right? There are audiences there. So we're trying to build bridges over there that the marketers can use. They may do that acquisition of those tools through the agencies. They may do it directly. And these will also become tools that are important for broadcasters. So parallelly for the broadcasters to understand content, right? We call these as bio products where they can understand content better, right? In news, in entertainment, in music, in movies, in kids, how that consumption happening so that they can make more dynamic decisions, right? And we see that change. We see some of them who adopt this, really use this well to make changes in their content mix. Some are able to do so very finely. So you need to also have within your own organization as a marketer or broadcaster, the people to drive this change. Not only use the tool, but to be able to drive this change and to be able to establish that they're using that data intelligently and it's working for them.
Wait, I'm going to go back to something where you said about monitoring. Now, monitoring has actually caused a single, a genre, which is the English genre, English channel genre, English entertainment, English movie genre to kind of shrink or be so insignificant that people are starting to wonder whether they should be in it. So, is there a way of, because, are people watching really, or is the sample too, cannot, uh, capture that viewing which is happening because it's a smaller group within the sample that you have.
Now that, first of all, let's understand sampling, right? Yesterday, I had a blood test done. There's one drop of blood which is taken from my hand. It
Sure.
represents 11 parameter tests which are done. You don't need to give 11 bottles of blood, right? So let's understand what a sample is. Sample is representative. If the sampling is good, it will represent the universe. We are measuring audiences in India in select markets. It will measure that, right? It's sample based. What is the criteria? English, right? Now we are speaking in English as a variable. English is the most spoken language in my house, followed by Hindi, right? And the Hindi is more because of the staff. Now, I am a Sindhi, right? Sindhi doesn't only tick the boxes in the list of languages out here.
Yeah.
So, English is the most spoken. My house is not representative of the universe of India. If you go to the average universe home, English will not be the most spoken language. It may be one of the languages, but it will be very few where it will even be one of the languages. Mostly it will be either a regional language, Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, Assamese, Kannadiga, and there may be some Hindi spoken, right? And even in Hindi, there are multiple dialects. There'll be Gujarati, there'll be Punjabi, there'll be other languages. So English is not the most spoken. So when you talk of the sample, you're saying what's sample home in India? What are they watching? Yes, there's a geolocation to it, which is a state group. There's a town class location to it, which defines metro, mega city, 1 lakh plus, 5,000 plus homes, right? Small village, small town. It's talking of that. So you can't expect English viewing to grow when English is not as widely spoken. So there is a floodgate of channels over there. And in the entertainment section, there has been impact from a YouTube and Netflix and Amazon and many others, a Hotstar, a Voot and many others, which has caved in and carved in. Because one, the content which these channels had has suddenly gone back to other owners, to other licensors. So that content is gone, right? So I cannot see those shows or those movies on English anymore in those TV channels. I see them somewhere else. So there's one, that attrition, right? And today it represents, whether it's English news, English entertainment, it represents the percentage of people who speak English as a most spoken, who have English as a most spoken language in their homes. And if it's only that percentage, it is only that percentage. And if there are many players over there lighting their cooking fires over there are many players over there. They should know their business. We are not here to teach that business. We're here to measure that audience.
Yeah. So there's also, again, this is not what I am stating, but there's a perception that certain genres which are more important to the major broadcast networks, the sampling may be, again, you don't have to answer this if you have to, because the naysayers will say what they want to say. Because the major broadcast networks have major interest in that, whereas the other smaller broadcasts don't have major networks. There's a skew towards the major networks.
If you're sitting in India and you're carving India out as a marketplace you want to operate in, let's say you're making biscuits and you look at making biscuits for a certain market, certain geography, or the whole country. That will depend on your scale, your geographic distribution, and you're able to capture a taste preference that goes across, right? There will be no one universal biscuit that goes across,
Sure.
right? So You will have to therefore create conditions at which you look at this. So you look at the most important markets. In India, Hindi has a large speaking population. Tamil and Telugu follow, Bengali third, so on and so forth. So when these geographic and language clusters came into being, yes, some languages are spoken in mega cities too, because people have moved around, right? But by and large, they're native to a certain geography.
Sure.
So broadcasters, when they came in, if you recall, they came in with English first because
Yes.
it was a satellite, right? It was foreign.
In the early
Foreign,
days, it was Chinese actually when
yeah,
started.
so foreign, yeah. So I'm saying foreign, therefore English, bold and the beautiful. You remember that, right? You and I remember this well.
I remember the channel V. I remember Noni.
Yeah. Then you'll see how it has changed to Hindi because Hindi was a big geography,
Sure.
right? Big audience. Then it comes to Tamil, then Telugu, and then it builds from there. So broadcasters, as an example, have represented these various population groups, and that's what they have done. Advertisers used to always make copy in multiple languages because cinema ran in multiple languages,
Mhm.
right? If you were making commercials for the movie theater, you had to make them in 15 languages,
Sure.
right? Because that's the way it was. It got censored in 15 languages and it got delivered as prints into theaters in those 15 different state groups or language groups. So India's always been multiple languages and there has been a changeover. There is no represent a sample. What is the sample of India? In what does it speak? What does it consume TV in? That's what it represents. And how does it consume it? Cable, DTH, free dish, and we will see more measures as they grow. Your point of smart connected TV, etc., will happen. The next 10 years will be about that. And TV dark cities where there is no TV, 100 billion homes estimated at this point of time, right? Where also TV will grow. So we are also a land of contradictions. So I think the sample, it really, BARC alone doesn't decide this. It works with the stakeholder body. So to your point of naysayers, that's what I tell them. I said, who decides this? The advertiser, the agency, the broadcaster. We work with them, bringing the best tools of measurement. But if you three want to change the design and want to change it, decide amongst the three of you first. As simple as that.
Yeah, but what they say is that the major networks can invest more in dark systems. That's why. Whereas the smaller networks can't invest as much as the major networks.
Listen, we've got nothing to do with the investment. We will go with where the body industry, where the stakeholders want to go. The big advertisers invest a lot of money in driving the economy through advertising and consumption, right? So they go for where the big audiences are. And a sample represents big, small, black, blue, white, pink, whatever color you want, whichever language you want, represents that. And it'll come with some, differences.
Now, give me a second. I'm just getting my
Sure.
phone. I've got a lot of messages coming in to ask you. A lot of people
Sure.
ask you questions. Give me a second. I think you seem to be pretty popular with the.
No, I think they're following you, not me.
You flatter me now. You
But it's
flatter
true, no? Why would anyone follow me?
because of the kind of person you are, the
Thank
very
you.
honest person that you are.
Thank
And
you.
I don't mean to be. People might say I'm ass licking. I'm not.
No, you never do.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, One second, yeah. One second. That question. These questions can come later. The ones which have come here.
Yeah.
So because these are much later. So you're saying that's absolute baloney. Whatever people say that that.
No, I won't be so harsh. I'll just say that look, this is a stakeholder run body. The measurement process is aligned with the stakeholders. There is a place to come and have a conversation, right? And understand that conversation. There will be networks which have very large footprints. There are networks with very small footprints which do extremely well because they've got a sharp content offering. So the networks which may not have a scale advantage, which is across India, will find a groovy niche that they want to target and will build a compelling content proposition to get those audiences to watch. And advertising will follow where audiences are.
Okay. So there are many questions coming. There are people who are saying I've got Pooja Srivastav saying, "Bravo, sir, in this pandemic, data reporting consistency was a challenge. Good to hear the development, sir. Greetings to you."
Thank
And
you.
let me go on to my set of getting some insights from you. Uh, so on the news side, the news guys have always complained that while their viewership stake is higher, the advertising is not following as much in terms of the share of reach and viewership is higher. Advertising is not following as much. There's a gap over there, and it's even the kids. They say that the kids channel owners or the people who are running the kids channel say there's a gap over there. Why isn't there an uptake happening despite the viewership being there?
Are you talking of volume or value?
I'm talking about value.
I don't know anything about value. I can talk about volume. Value question, go back to the same people who asked you this question. If news was 7% of the audience in 2019,
Yeah.
it went up to 21% in the peak week of COVID news. It is back at approximately 8-9% now, right? Or little more than 9%. It will go back to being 7% in time to come, right? It's at 9% now. It will go back. We are seeing the change. We are seeing people going back to entertainment and doing things, right? And over time, okay, the COVID news still today has got a lot of spikes in it. So because obviously there's great anxiety. But news channels, I remember we did our first webinar in March. And I remember in the first 5 webinars, and I continue to say it, that there is never a better time to advertise on news than now because the audience is watching. Not everybody's advertising because of supply chain issues.
Yeah.
As the supply chain issues got sorted out, it was the best time to advertise. The clutter wasn't so intensive. So I've been a big believer that there was a proposition. There still is a proposition, right? God, BARC has nothing to do with value. That's between the advertiser and the broadcaster, content owner, and the agency in between, right? So that's between them. Kids started watching news, movies, as well as their own kids programming. Kids audiences continues to be higher than it's been before, marginally higher, but it continues to be higher, right? So driving value is up to them.
Value is up to them, and I think so. That's what's keeping them from investing as much as they can in content, especially the kids side is where internationally the investments running into content are running into $1 million an episode, $500,000, 300,000 in India. They're barely pumping. Even on the drama side.
See, you have to understand India is still an underinvested market in content.
Sure.
You cannot believe that we are an overinvested market. TV still has 100 million homes more to go.
Will that ever happen?
We'll get to a higher level number. I mean, have some faith and hope in India. I hope we do. If China could get every home having a TV, why can't India? Right? We are the world's 2 largest populations.
Okay, so you were talking about content, underinvested.
Right? It's underinvested because it's got to do with numbers, right? If everybody had a TV set at home, you would get a lot more return back on your content. You would invest that much more, right? We think OTT is investing in content in India? No, not as yet. It still has a long way to go. So, and then there is the advertising chain, there's the subscription chain, there is all of those effects, right, which leverage content. So I think, yes, there's been a very sizable investment in content. We have IPL, which is the equivalent of the Super Bowl in America, right? It has the same power of the franchise. So cricket always drives viewing in India. Movies drive viewing in India. Don't look at the current perspective of the pandemic. We will get out of it, right? And we will grow. That business will grow. So I think there's a lot more that can be done in content. There's a lot of sameness which is there today, right? So for the audiences, very often it's a challenge what to watch. Right? When it comes to news, the news is filtered pretty much the similar basis. There are many channels out there. So they have to carve out their own positions. They have to understand their audiences and find ways to hook their audiences. Value proposition will come. People need to be informed and entertained. We are spending close to 4 hours a day watching TV, another 2-3 hours watching digital content. That's 6 or 7 hours. So think about it. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of time.
Yeah. So, but again, we'll come back to that in terms of, see, I was speaking to some FMCG companies, and they say, what happened was in the beginning of August, there was a rapid uptake. Like, we'll come to I'd love to see your slides that we prepared for us and the audience, that there was an uptake in the beginning of August. After that, it plateaued, and in September, it hasn't recovered as yet. There's spending happening. IPL has got money. Hotstar is,
Yeah.
I watch my show. I watch my IPL, which I cannot miss every day I'm a big cricket fan on my Hotstar, on my phone or on my computer or on my smart TV. But the offtake of goods is not happening. The economic pumping is not happening as yet. So will
So
it be, they'll
that's,
stop, they'll slow down again after this? There's already been
I don't know. I'm not an economist, and I think that's got to do with the effects of the supply chain. It's got to do with savings. It's got to do with discretionary expenses. Uh, from what I read, people have lost jobs. Businesses have shut down. Some businesses have bounced very hard, like the digital education business.
Sure.
It's come up afresh, right? Everybody wants the economy to turn around. Everybody wants the economy to do well. The Prime Minister yesterday announced that he finds that these micro lockdowns which happened shouldn't happen, and he's encouraging states to be open and to allow fluidity of goods and services and people mobility in safe and sanitized conditions. But I think the whole country is vested in getting the Indian economy re-geared and flying, right?
Sure.
We are a really small cog in the wheel. We don't even matter in that sense, right? But the whole industry is invested in that. And therefore, I believe that good things will happen. The economy will pick up. There will be some hard effects. Some industries have got hit. Restaurants have got shut. Therefore, the people who serve in the restaurant don't have a job, right? The small little crafts tailor has got challenged. You are buying goods from a bhajiwala who was coming and delivering to your house. Now you're ordering from a delivery service, right? But they are also responding. They are also using technology to respond. And they are getting smarter in the manner in which they can deliver. Farm to home became such a big thing in May and June when a lot of the farms started delivering truckloads of food when there is no mass transport system working in Bombay. The buses, there are a few. Trains are not for everybody. They're only for people who are working for the government services or banks and medical services and emergency services.
No, I'm just
So
waiting for the next quarter data, because I'd like to know whether we are really on the verge of a caving in again or of a breakout. It will
no,
really.
I think it will go up and down a little bit before it settles and starts growing. I think IPL, doing IPL at this point of time has been a very significant move. It's brought a lot of confidence. It's brought new ads. It's brought new categories. It's brought a lot of interest into the tournament. After IPL will come all the mega shows. The big bosses, the who wants to KBCs, Diwali, all of that will come in, and people will find their own ways to celebrate in whichever fashion, however conservative it may be. People are looking for hope. Everybody wants positivity. And TV, which sits in your house, gets that positivity going, gets people together going. That's the charm of television. It's the screen of the household.
Yeah. And there's no cinemas anyway. We can't go out and watch. We're watching direct to screen. We're watching them. One last question before we go on to the consumption
Sure.
and all that is security. That's been you said you spruced up your security within the system. Would you like to elaborate, or would you like
So
to?
that's technology security, right? Uh, we did two things during the pandemic. We put in a lot of measures to make process really strong, to
Okay.
make data security really strong with validation and things like that. We also knocked out a significant cost from our company so that the industry does not have to pay for that cost in years to come, right? So we actually use this opportunity to resize. So we gave up a lot of physical real estate in terms of offices, work turnarounds, certain duplications that we had, and said we will just make everything more robust and better. So data security is very important to us as a company, and we now move a lot of data. We've got to make sure it stays safe and it's well protected, right? So those are more technology as well as process oriented methods that we put in place.
Okay. So basically, there's high level encryption which is happening of
And
data.
process orientation,
Okay.
right?
Great. Great. So I have Binny on the line with me. Binny, can you start the presentation if you don't mind? Binny, can you share your screen and
Yeah, so we could go to the next slide if you don't mind. We'll just save some time, but I think I have overextended my stay and unable to kick me out. So we're just
No,
going
no,
to
no,
give
no.
you.
Listen, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. I think the
So
audience
just
has also been loving.
thank you. We'll give you three snapshots. What's happening on TV as of last Thursday, yesterday. We've started looking at festivals because obviously we are in the middle of festivals. Ganpati and Onam just went by, and there are many others coming up. So we look at that. If you go to the next slide, please.
Vinny, next slide here.
Yeah. So total TV. If you look at the four different columns, the icons really represent viewing minutes all the way down to ad volume, and it's about what was it pre-COVID, which was in January, and then the peak period. The peak period is week 12, week 13, largely speaking, over there, mushroomed over there. Uh, and you saw lots of volume. You saw big growth, 40% growth in viewing. We are now growing at 15%, which is very large. Okay,
Yeah.
15% viewing compared to January is still very, very large. A lot of it is non-prime time because there are many homes in which people are not going to work as yet and they are watching television. Reach has gone up by 6%, almost 600 million individuals. That is a big estimate, big change over there. Time spent has gone up from 3 hours 46, now trending at 4 hours, which is a good 20 odd minutes extra per day per person. Individual watching TV 7 days a week has gone up, which means it's gone up by 24% from earlier. So 239 individuals watching TV every day, gone up to 297, which is again a very, very big change. Number of channels, NTO1 had bought the number of channels being watched from 24 to 16. It's now gone up to 18. In between, it was at 23. So
Nice.
people are watching more channels. Volume in television, January was 28 million, we are 33 million, right? And if I look at this period of 12 September, 18 September 2019, we are higher. If I look at July, August, whole months, 20 versus 19, it's higher. So to me, that's a sign. It's volume. I'm not talking value. Okay, just talking volume has gone up, right? We go to the next slide, please.
Vinny, next slide.
We saw a change in genres. During the COVID periods of April, May, June, original programming was not there on television at GEC. So GEC went from 52% of the audiences to 39%, back up at 54.
Oh, that's
Movies grew. Yeah, so they're back up over there. What we are seeing over there, the reach is back. The time spent is still trailing compared to pre-COVID periods, but I think it's all progressing in the right direction. So it should soon catch up and be stronger over there. Movies went from 23 to 26% of genre share, back at 23%. So also there are no new movies coming to people's libraries, right? Channels don't have new movies being released. Whatever came new went on the digital side, didn't come into mainstream television. News went from 7% to 21%, which was a threefold increase in viewing, now at 9%, which is still higher than the 7%.
so.
Right?
How much of this is the Sushant Rajput coverage? Most of it.
No. There's also a lot of COVID is still in the news wheel. Still top two of the top five items is COVID. Time in the last few months, it's also been a bit of China, right? Uh, it's a little bit of events and episodes which are happening in the economy or in society, you know, building crashes in a particular market, as an example. Monsoon has also been big. We've seen big rains, especially where we are right now in Mumbai. We've seen lots of rain. So we've also seen some of that come up. And yes, it has also got to do with the news in and around Sushant Singh Rajput and everything that is centered around that particular case.
Yeah, because one network has reached spurt to the number one spot because of the campaign it's been carrying out, and yeah,
That's it's just audiences following, right? So kids again saw growth. And for kids, what was interesting, we saw kids looking at news, we saw kids in movies, we saw parents spending more time with kids channels. But kids is certainly doing higher. Also, they are at home. So even if they are doing online school and they're busy, I think they're snacking in a little more into television than they ever did before. So those are the big, large changes over there on television. If you go to the next slide, please. So let's look at ad volume. And again, that's interesting. The gray line is 2019, the orange is 2020. So in January, almost neck to last year. And January 2019 was lower than January 2018. So almost neck to neck over there. April, we saw that big slide over there, 142 million seconds versus 91 million seconds of ad commercials. So you see that big drop over there. That's obviously supply chain was out of whack. Demand was down. We were in absolute lockdown mode. People weren't consuming except buying essentials. In July, you see this number come up, overtakes 2019. In August, you see the number come up, it overtakes 2020, right? And that's October. We'll see where October goes. But I have a feeling that we are going to actually better the October number of 2019. You see the change in advertiser count, 3,244 advertisers in January, down to 2,000, big drop in April, coming back to 2,800 in August. You see that in brand count, 4,933 brands. We're now at 4,264 brands. There are many brands which aren't advertising because perhaps their supply chain is not what it used to be, So real estate, as an example, won't be doing that. Entertainment, movies are not there. So that's another big drop in advertising. Then you saw that, all the ads were just like non-COVID ads in January. 22% of the ads in April were about COVID, right? Whether it was to do with social advertising or to do with germ-free disinfectants, etc. Now down to 6%. So it's still there in the ad wheel, much higher in the news wheel because obviously it's an important news element. Can we go to the next slide, please? So look at the categories which have increased ad volume during COVID. Okay, education, e-commerce oriented education, multiple courses, online courses to do to improve things, hand sanitizers, financial services, which are digitally enabled, and gaming, which is digitally enabled. They've all increased volume. And if you see that last part of the graph over there, the blue bar, the orange bar over there, you see that big growth, which is happening in July, August, right? So you see that trend. So that trend shows that these categories have gained. Categories which had gone out during COVID and are coming back, auto cars, cement, retail outlets, especially jewelers, because of the season. There's a Onam, there's a Diwali coming up, there was Ganpati. Two-wheelers have started coming back in a big way. And real estate is again coming back, right? People are advertising real estate once again. That's good. And a category which has seen a big decline is obviously decorative paints, because usually you would paint your home in summer and now in pre-Diwali. So let's see what happens in Diwali, because there are restrictions or there are fears. People are not willing to invite the painter to come in at home and paint, right? So there is all of that. So what is good to see is new categories coming in. It's good to see stability, which is your cement, your jewelers, your auto, two-wheelers, cars, all coming back with advertising, right? So I think that's a good sign of interest in consumption going up. Go to the next slide, please. So let's look at festivals on TV. Let's go to the next slide, please. So the first festival we'll see is Gudi Padwa. It was not a good time period for Gudi Padwa because it comes in April. April was a very harsh time in terms of the lockdown. So we see advertising fall, right? So typically speaking, all the categories fell. But the interesting part was that if you look at 2020 versus 2019 and 2018 over here, it's a similar trend. During Gudi Padwa, the advertising was down. Though pre-Gudi Padwa, there was a higher advertising over there, which is really in March, right? So that's not a fair comparison. We go to the next slide, which is in Onam. So advertising on certain categories increased sharply because advertisers look to expand and look to leverage the moment of unlock over there. So in 2020, at the bottom of the graph, you see that over there, pre-Onam and during Onam, advertising went up, lower than 2019, but higher than 2018. And all the categories really increased. Two-wheelers, mobile phones, jewelers, durable home appliances, all increased over the previous year and the year preceding, right? So that's a good trend during Onam, which was in Kerala. We go to the next slide, please. We look at Ganesh Chaturthi, which is largely Maharashtra and parts of Karnataka, that the festival is big in. Two-wheelers came down at this point of time. Auto cars went up. Retail outlets and jewelers went up. Durable and home appliances went up, right? So, and higher than 2019. So if you look at the black and orange at the bottom, higher than 2019. So volumes are higher during Ganpati, right?
But it's actually not higher because in 2018 you have... so it was higher than 2019.
Yeah, I'm not saying 18. 18 was a big year in India. 19 was overall a lower year in volume.
Sure.
Okay, 18 was a big year in terms of volume. Just economic conditions.
Sure.
Go to the next slide, please. But category-wise, yes. Let's look at what's upcoming. It's Diwali. Next slide, please. So it's Diwali. Diwali is this time in November. So we've got a month and a half to go before Diwali comes in. But if you go by the preceding trend lines, I imagine and I hope we see green lines, right? And we see growth, right? So that's the period to look forward to. You've got a big IPL tournament going on just preceding Diwali. And then Diwali comes in over there. And following Diwali, Christmas in India, usually now, last few years, gets a bump up of volume again. So you've got a period, Anil, which is from September all the way to December, which seems to indicate that if we unlock well, and we have got mobility, and we've got the supply chain open, and if there is demand triggered, consumption will be triggered, we should see a good next 4 5 months.
Yeah.
Right? So I think I'm pretty much done, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just
Yeah.
a few questions which I had
Thank you.
come from the audience.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You can take the slides off, Vinny. Thanks. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you very much for that. Now, there are questions which have come, which I think you partly answered. So analog cable came, digital cable came, now connected TVs. Is there a plan to roll out a measurement tool for broadcast and digital properties, ZTV plus Z5, Aajtak plus Aajtak app, in smart TVs in the new future? I think specifically
Yes.
smart TVs.
Yes. We are already doing some work with the news channels on measuring audiences both on TV as well as on the phone, right? We're already doing some work. We should be having something out there next year.
Fantastic. So any advice for a new channel getting launched in this pandemic from your experience?
So I think TV has proven to be screen of the household. This is certainly something you can't now miss. But you need to understand that sometimes when the content is accessed on the phone, it's about the access. It's about the device. I am not at home, I will see on my phone. My house is watching channel A, I want to see channel B, so I will see it on my phone. But the content, if you look at it from a content perspective, content for TV and content for the individual is different. And you cannot expect the same to play. Right? So if your consumer is accessing, or the consumer you're targeting is about access, then you will be on both the platforms, digital and TV. But if it's about content, you will have to make a choice of where you play this out, right? There are now a number of channels with differentiated choices in every single category and language. So competition is intense, and you can't take audiences for granted. I do see changes in the ratings. I do see change in the audience preferences over there. We do see that, and we know that audiences in this period of the pandemic have made changes in their choices. What was number one in January need not be number one in September.
Okay. So there's another question. Are you looking at new technologies like blockchain to manage and store the data?
At this point of time, we are pretty good where we are, but we are working with some partners to find secure and more efficient ways to manage the data, because there's a lot of volume of data, which costs a fair bit. So yes, we are.
You are looking at blockchain, which is great. Now, some last words from you on where do you see the world of video going? You've already answered, but a comprehensive, if you can end with some last notes or comprehensive view on where do you see the world of video going?
See, I think video, what we are doing today is video, right?
Absolutely.
Right? We wouldn't have done this 5 years back or 3 years back or even 2 years back.
Yeah.
You would have said, let's meet, right? Let's have a cup of tea together.
Yep.
So I think that we know that video is now part of every person's life, not just your and my life. Every single person's life, the video is part of it, right? The calls which used to be on the phone move to WhatsApp, now move to video calls. On the weekend, if you look around, you'll see a lot of people on the street doing video calls, right, to their family from whom they are distant, they are physically distant, right? So it's a part of life. We have to learn to measure video universally and neutrally. And I look forward to being able to deliver on that. To me, that's the big aspect. That's my next big marathon.
I understand.
To answer your question.
What people are saying, like if Facebook is buying the rights of, let's say, La Liga, and they're showing it on that, how are we going to dovetail everything into one piece? You have to measure Facebook. I know Facebook numbers can be seen. Then you've got you've got a lot of watch parties happening, where again consumption of video is happening. By watch parties, I mean people get together and they watch and then they comment and they talk.
Yeah. So I think let's come back. We are not a watching body. We are about measuring audiences for monetization. Right? They're a currency body. Right?
Sure.
It's advertising. So where there is advertising to play, I think we would like to find ways where there's meaningful advertising to play, which is measurable, which our stakeholders do also want. We are not the smart guys in the room. The smart guys in the room are the three stakeholders, right? They are the smart guys in the room. And as they look at these audiences and they say this is worth doing, BARC will follow suit with them to create something that is a strong measure and a strong currency.
Great. There's one more question coming about TRAI, talking about having a consultation paper. Let the TRAI do what it wants to do. You'll continue doing what. That's the response I gave that person, that The
So
TRO,
we work closely with the ministry, the MIB, and whatever comment was issued by the TRA, whatever recommendation, our argument or our response would be with the MIB. This is not for public consumption. We can't solve this through a debate.
Sure. Thank you very much. I think it's been wonderful
Thank
chatting
you.
with you, like always. And thank you for being frank, and thank you for being open, and thank you for sharing the data, especially for our audiences. Wish you all the best, and the team at BARC too.
Thank you.
As always, keep up the good work. Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. Thank you very much for having me here. Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.